We do have Sheena Easton, who's our next guest, and she, as you know, burst onto the music scene in such a big way in 1981 when her first album went gold with 3 consecutive hit singles and earned her a Grammy for Best New Artist.
Ladies and gentlemen, to tell us about her latest CD, No Strings, please welcome Sheena Easton.
Rash contagious?
No, it's not contagious.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
They say once you get it, then it just stays there in that one place. And believe me, my wife would have nothing to do with me if it were contagious, and she's having a lot to do do with me. So
yeah,
really?
I've been seeing those, you know,
do we want to
videotape
talk about
things.
that?
It's obviously
no, we don't
working.
want to talk about that.
Maybe we do, Sheena.
I spoke to you about 2 years ago.
Yes, you did. You just gotten engaged.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, was I paying attention during the interview?
No, not at all. You were on the cell phone to your wife about every 5 minutes.
Exactly, I was. How
But he
embarrassing
still
for
is.
me.
Honey, I miss you.
No, I was not doing that.
Do you miss me? It's been 5 whole minutes.
I brought this up, didn't I? No.
I was real disappointed because I thought, hey, he's single again. You know, maybe I'll get lucky. And I was, honey.
No, would John be your
It was
type?
really sweet, though.
That's kind of a tough question, because I know at one point you had said that you went for Peter Jennings.
Yes, it's true.
Wasn't it Peter Jennings that you said,
Yes.
I'd love to have Peter Jennings' baby?
Yes, I would.
See, I'm in that club.
You still would.
Yes, I would.
Now, what is it about Peter Jennings? You said you're in that club.
Well, I think a lot of women have a fascination with Peter Jennings.
And that's why a lot of women like you, too, because it's that intelligence that comes across. You can give me
But keep going, this is good.
Give me the $5 later,
Oh,
okay?
absolutely.
But, you know, a lot of people would assume that because I'm in the music business and they read things in the tabloids that aren't true, you know that. I mean, most of that stuff is just so fantasized and made up that they would think that somebody like me would go for some, like, wild, crazy, you know, motorcycle riding thing. But actually, I'm drawn to people that are much more conservative and have a job. Having a job is
That's
good.
key.
Having a job is very nice. And intelligence and sense of humor, that's very important, you know?
I love when he cracks those jokes on the ABC Evening News.
But it's that sophistication in a trench coat.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
a trench coat is it.
A man with a trench coat? Now,
Sheena, we
now
can
you're
talk.
talking. Do you have a trench coat?
I do have a trench coat, yes.
Okay, wear it tonight, go home to your wife, you'll get lucky.
Oh, God.
Even with the
Like
poison oak.
advice for the lovelorn
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
But when we brought this up, actually, in the meeting, this quote, we had two or three other women swooning for Peter Jennings. Did that quote get you in any trouble at all? Saying
Lots of trouble.
Really?
Well, I said it as a joke. I mean, come on, I say things that are 99% a joke. And, but when you say something like that, you would be amazed at the amount of people afterwards, in the business, in the media, that said things like, well, didn't you feel embarrassed revealing those kinds of thoughts? I'm like, it was a joke, lighten up.
Peter didn't call, did he?
He never did call, and you know, it was very disappointing to me.
I just have this image of you at home watching the news all the time.
Every night, you know, he did this thing where it was on C-SPAN, and he was doing some kind of lecture at a university, and it was on at 2 in the morning or something. I was glued to it, you know, I couldn't go to sleep. I was like a total junkie. I've never revealed that in public before, so there you go.
When we do the tabloid show here, Hooked on Peter Jennings,
yes,
with all the women who we will have you on.
I'll be there. I'll come and confess to that. Yeah.
We have to take a break here. We're gonna come right back. We're also gonna later on in the show we're gonna hear you sing. Which
Yes, you are.
Okay.
But we'll talk some more
Yeah.
right after this commercial.
How can you avoid those costly diet scams? Fitness expert Susan Powder has the answers Thursday on John and Leeza.
Sheena Easton, see, your career has done so well, but I remember in the mid-'80s, I think it was in the mid-'80s, when you did Sugar Walls, and all of a sudden there was all this attention on how provocative it was.
I know, and it's so tame now, isn't it? It's like, you know, all the songs you hear now, the lyrics now, that's gone way back. It's like, yeah, I think that with my career, I've been around for so long now. You know, a lot of kids grew up listening to my music. It's been 13 years of making records, so over that time, you've got to go through lots of changes and growth, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've managed to still have a job 13 years later, is that I do things that appeal to me. Might not necessarily be terribly commercial. Like, for instance, this new album, No Strings, we're not putting out a single, we're not making a music video, we're not going to radio to have them play it, because it's not a commercial pop album. It wouldn't have a home at pop radio. And I thought, wonder what the record company's going to say when I tell them I want to do this. But you know, they let me do it. They were really excited about it because it's such a good musical project.
Are they standards?
This is a romantic album?
Yeah, standards. It's standards. We recorded it live in the studio in 2 days. Now, you'll know how unusual that is, because now it can take a year to make an album.
But it probably has that live energy that
It
this
does.
album so
I always wanted to make an album like the people I grew up listening to, Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald. I would read and I'd watch, and I'd watch PBS and things, and you'd see them in the studio with an orchestra singing live to it. Now, by the time I came along to start recording, it doesn't work like that. You're in the studio alone, the music's already on tape, that's taken months to make. It's layered one after the other. You can do 100 takes, if you get it wrong, you can fix it. Well, I wanted to make an album where it was real and truthful and honest, and we did these things in 1 or 2 takes, the maximum of 3 takes. And then we picked the best ones, so.
Yeah. You had a great producer working with you, Patrice Rushen.
Patrice Rushen.
She's a great piano
fabulous.
player.
She's great. She arranged it, produced it, and I mean, I was lucky to be able to work with somebody like that. She taught me a lot.
The last time we spoke, we were talking about, I think you were involved in a relationship. We were talking about your love life.
Hadn't I just been dumped at that time?
No.
I think
I had.
something bad had happened.
I was a recent dumpee.
Now,
Now you subsequently got divorced?
No.
No, that was a relationship right after that.
Yeah.
That was not a marriage.
So does marriage still work for you?
A checkered past.
Oh, it's not checkered.
All coming out this morning.
The thing is, you're so sweet and you're so bright and you're such a great musician. It's sort of like, I feel like, you know, the love thing should be working for you.
It should be.
What's happening?
Well, you know, to be perfectly honest, I think that right now, if I got into a relationship with, quote, the right guy, and you know there's no such thing, you have to work at it no matter how well suited you are, I think that I could bring something to it now that I didn't before. And that is a better knowledge of myself. And, you know, I'm 34 now, and it's probably only in the last 4 or 5 years that I started to be really honest with myself and take responsibility for my own faults and actions. And that's helped. And you know, I've needed this long growing process, and now I'm at the point where I really want to have kids, and I really want to have a much more settled life. So, you know, I think that it's possible. Marriage could work for me. I used to think that I was afraid of marriage again, but I really realized that what I'm afraid of is another divorce. I don't want that. So I think if I got married again, I would do it after a long relationship so that I was really sure. You know, I couldn't do it after a couple of months.
But I can really relate to what you're saying about you bringing something different to a love relationship right now, having evolved as a woman.
Yeah, it's so easy to kind of point the finger and say, he did this and he did that. But I think that when you really grow is when you start to go, well, I used to do this, or I do this now, and this is what I'm working on to change in myself. And a lot of hours of therapy. You know, live in LA, so we all go to therapy. But you know what? It really has helped me. Truly and truly. It really made me ask questions about myself that I didn't before.
Surprising.
And I brought all of that to this album. This album is like an album of telling your secrets. It's called No Strings, and it's, if you ever hear it, the whole thing, it's about starting out with someone to watch over me, looking for that love, and it ends up with never will I marry. I'm not saying that's how I feel right now. It's just how the album ends. The album doesn't have a happy ending.
What's going to happen after this show is that if you were listed in the phone book, every newscaster in the United States would be calling you saying,
I've got that Peter Jennings thing.
Yeah, right, look a little like Peter Jennings.
Yeah.
We look forward to hearing you play a little bit later in the show. And right now we're going to get Brooke Shields out here. So thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks a lot.